Ellie Durham. I'm a senior vice president. I've been in this career, I've been in banking a really long time because I tellered in high school and in college, but in this capacity I've been in it 6 years.
So how did you first become interested?
I became interested as a teller, so I started from the bottom and loved banking immediately. As a teller, you work with customers, and you kind of see everything else going on in the banking world, and so after my first summer being a teller, I knew I wanted to be working in a bank. As a teller, teller I think has limited education requirements. I mean, cash management skills are good, people skills are good, so that's a job that is really entry level. So when I first started tellering, I was in high school, and then but now for this job I have a bachelor's degree in English and a minor in business, and I'm halfway through an MBA program, and the skills that I acquired, I mean, certainly my business degree gave me exposure to business, but I would say that really the English and communication piece has served me probably better than the business side in this role. For my particular job in banking is very customer focused, so I am talking to customers all day, I'm doing loans, I'm working with, I help manage a department, so I'm overseeing people. I of course have bosses. My role, for my particular role, being able to talk to people, enjoying people, and enjoying the interaction is really important. There's other areas in banking where there's more limited interaction, so if you were someone that didn't want as much people interaction, there's a lot of possibilities in banking for that personality type. For my role as a loan officer and as kind of an account relationship manager, definitely working with people. Banking is math, so there is some math, but I would say it's no harder math in my job than addition and subtraction, so it's very basic math in my role. But I would say it's a lot of people in my particular role, enjoying people and enjoying interactions, meeting people. My other job, and I do some marketing too, so certainly going out and talking about the bank and trying to encourage people to move their banking here. So you need to be a little bit willing to put yourself out there too. A teller is like the starting position I keep referencing, that is, and actually most of our management team has had teller experience, which is pretty neat. And so there's other starting positions in banks too, but teller seems to be, if you wanted to do the loan and deposit side of banking, that's kind of the entryway. That's an hourly position, and I would say that's normally, I mean, I think geographically it changes, but I would say like $14 an hour, and then in my role, it's totally variable. I mean, when I first started here, I was doing, I had tellered in high school, and then I started doing some loan assistant stuff. So I was doing processing, underwriting, just some backroom loan things, and then I started developing a portfolio. I helped other loan officers with their customers, and that was like a $35,000 a year salary job, and that was, like I said, 6 years ago. But I think that sky's the limit in this role. The more customers you have, the more money you're bringing into the bank, so you become valuable to the business, and they do want to keep you and pay you more. So I would say, 6 figures is easily attainable in 5 or 6 years, potentially. And then as a senior loan officer, I would say anywhere between probably 70,000 and then up through the 6 figures as you keep going. Banking is really attractive for people that want normal business hours. So most of the people here are 8 to 5, probably almost all. We don't have Saturday hours, but even at the banks I worked at that did have Saturday hours with shifts, it seemed like you would do a Saturday shift once a month, and it was kind of flexible shift, it was more like just a Saturday morning type thing, and that was what a lot of the college students wanted anyway. So there is a demographic that wants more off hours work, and so it was pretty easy to fill. But most people here are 8 to 5, and we're off on the weekends. Banks also recognize all the holidays, even kind of the minor ones, which Columbus Day, that kind of stuff. So we get all federal holidays off. We're never open. Christmas, Thanksgiving, we never have to be concerned about that, and that's really nice, I think, especially if you have a family. Bank hours go along really well with school hours, so I think working parents banking is really a nice option for them. Some banks, like I said, if you're at a teller or lobby, they have longer hours, but even then you're still only in 8-hour chunks. And then of course as loan officers, I do a lot with customers. So if my customers if they want to look at a property for me to finance on a Saturday, I'm doing that. If they need, if they're call me and their credit card isn't working at 9 o'clock at night, I answer that question. So when you're on the customer side, my dad jokes that I'm the 1-800 number for the bank, but to keep customers, that's our advantage, and I don't mind. I enjoy that, and I've built relationships with most of the customers, so I don't mind at all doing that. So I would say there's definitely weekend work. If you're on the customer development marketing side, you have to go to, not this year with COVID, but usually I go to networking events, and I go to, we sponsor a lot of nonprofits. They have events, I go to that. We bank a lot of nonprofits, and I go support them at their fundraising events. When customers have, some of our customers will have annual sales that I go to, or they'll have, if they open a new location or something, I go to all those, and sometimes those are on the weekends or whatever, but I would say primarily it's 8 to 5.
Your job.
Yeah, and actually today's a pretty good example. So I'll use today. I had an 8 o'clock closing this morning for a doctor who's starting her own practice. So that was very cool. So we are financing some startup costs for her to open her own practice. And I met with her, closed the loan. And loan closings are exciting because all the work we did to lead up to the loan is kind of finalized there. And then she now has the money to go start building everything that she's about to build. So that was neat. So closings are a big piece of a loan officer's job, and that's when the loan is, you've done all the research on the loan, you've done all the terms, and then you actually give the money to the customer. So that was good this morning. And then I had some customers that live out of town come in, and I had coffee and donuts with them. So a lot of my job is just catching up with people and talking to them, and I love that. Then I went to loan committee. So when you apply for a loan at a bank, depending on the type of loan, there is a committee that looks at all the financials and decides, is this a loan that's good for the bank? Is this a loan that's good for the customer? And then how do we want to structure this loan? So it's kind of like a book report. As a loan officer, and then the loan officer staff does all the research on this loan request, and then we basically get to present it to the committee. So I did a couple loan presentations this morning, basically advocating for my customers that they should get some money for their project. And that committee is every Thursday morning, and that's a couple hours. So I did that. Later today, a customer has a loan idea. They're meeting with me. My aunt is coming in to do her banking, and I usually block some time for that. And then at the end of the day, I have a couple of staff meetings, so basically just coordinating the loans that we have coming up next week. I have kind of a marketing meeting where we're going to talk about some ideas we have for new customers, and I also plan, so I've got a couple staff meetings this afternoon, and that's really what my day is. And then the time that I'm at my desk between things, I'm usually sending emails. There's lots of correspondence. I'm underwriting, so I'm looking at all the loans that people want and kind of deciding how we can make it work for people, and that's probably what I do most of the time when I'm just at my desk too. But I'd say half or over half of my day is interacting with people, whether that's other bank staff or customers, and then probably half or less than half is desk time. Yes, I really don't like turning people down for loans, and so sometimes, as boring as lending can sound, if you're going to get a loan, if you think about the reasons you would go to get a loan, it's all exciting stuff. I mean, you're buying a car, you're buying a house, you're starting a business, you're growing your business. And so all of that stuff, and people are really passionate about what they do, and people are excited for those milestones like home, car, that kind of thing. So when I know that it's not the right move for the bank, as in we might not get paid back, or most importantly, if I don't think the customer is situated to take on that loan, as in it would be bad for them, they'd be in foreclosure or bankruptcy. That's illegal to give someone a loan that we don't think they can pay back, so you have that burden, which is better for everyone in the long run. I don't like telling people that we can't help them. So there's a lot of account disputes. So if you think about fraud is something I deal with every day in banking. If a customer gets frauded, I don't like when that happens, and then we have to deal with it, try, and obviously we have like third parties that track that down, but I don't like when watching customers get taken advantage of by online people, or there's elder abuse, there's all kinds of things like that. So those are parts of my job that I really don't like. What I do like is I love closings, I love looking at new loans, I love meeting with customers at their home or at their business place. I love when someone buys a new house and I get to look at that and experience that with them. And then we have a great staff here too. So I even just like being around here and being with everyone I work with too. Yes, I have a 1-year-old and I have one on the way. So and it's worked really well. Like I said, I think I don't have school-age kids yet, but when we are interviewing tellers, one attractive piece of why someone would move from a different cash management role, for example, retail, and move into teller work is because of the hours, so that they have more time with their kids. 8 to 5, weekends off, whereas retail is all over the board. Having holidays off with your family is crucial, and I have found that the workplace banking is very easy to have a family too. I mean, it's hard to work and have a family no matter what, but I found that the hours are very helpful. I think in my particular role, I do have some flexibility where, and I think the whole work world is moving this way a little bit with COVID. I mean, I need to be on call as much as possible, 8 to 5, because that's when my customers are operating. That's when the bank is open for business. But, often if I'm spending all day Saturday with a customer, that maybe gives me a little flexibility on maybe a Wednesday to pick up Charlie early and go home or whatever. So I'm very fortunate that it does work pretty well with family life, I think mostly because of the hours. My favorite aspect of my job is interacting with customers and helping provide funds for them to do all the important things in life. And like everything from buying a house or car to starting a business, growing a business. Even yesterday I opened an account for a friend of mine who they had a baby last week, and that baby's actually the 4th generation of her family to bank here. So even little things like that are just real. Banking is like very much more people oriented than it sounds. We've noticed a lot with COVID the transition from branch banking, so you walking in and doing a deposit or meeting with a loan officer at a branch near your home in your community, to online. So all of the infrastructure was set up prior to COVID. For example, mobile banking. Every bank has an app. You can make a deposit on your phone. But we've also noticed paper checks are not necessarily what people do anymore. I mean, almost everything is transactional electronically. And so I actually teach a finance class once or twice a year to 21 and 22-year-olds. And I always open with, how many of you have walked into a bank in the last 2 years? And like out of 30, 1 or 2 raise their hands. I mean, so there's just not a lot of reason to walk into a bank anymore. And even on the high end, of businesses are doing everything from their desk too, and it's all electronic. So there's absolutely a shift to electronic. We still have lobby traffic, which is my favorite part of my job, and that is going down. It was before COVID, and it definitely is now. When we hire tellers or face-to-face people, the skill set I'm looking for more than just I can connect with someone one-on-one is I can communicate well in an email, I can answer the phone and help with IT support. So those are 2 things that I think have changed the landscape of even our entry-level job, is less about counting cash and talking one-on-one and more about, can you send a professional email and connect with someone that way through writing, and how is your IT support skills, because most of the people that are calling in have questions on online banking or something that they're doing remotely from their home or office. I think banking will probably continue to do that. There's still a lot of functions that are in person. I mean, if I'm talking about a complex loan deal with somebody, nothing beats being with them one-on-one, potentially on their site, which we've been doing that even before mobile banking, going to customers and having that experience. But definitely less people. I think even or less face-to-face. Before COVID, we were doing a lot of mobile banking. Now, the people that were resistant to online banking COVID kind of pushed them over. Now they kind of have the hang of it. So our lobby traffic has gone down quite a bit. But some plus sides, that does contribute to, it helps with if you could work from home part-time, it helps with the family life, it helps with scheduling. So there's positives and negatives to everything. But I do believe banking will become more computerized and more digital. There's banks that don't even have branches, they're totally online. Banks are they're closing branches all over just because there's no reason to pay the overhead and have the staff for something that people don't use. They're using their app and calling the 1-800 number more than they're walking into a branch. So that landscape will be changing a lot. There's a lot of bank branch buildings for sale. They're just not needed anymore. So it is convenient and there's positives, but there's also negatives to that transition.
Gotcha. So kind of just wrapping it up, do you have anything else you'd like to say or any specific advice you'd like to give someone wanting to pursue this career?
Yes, I would say that no matter your personality type, skill set, education level, banking is a great option. And I say that because there are job opportunities in banking no matter where you are on any of those spectrums. There's entry-level jobs without a college degree if that wasn't something you wanted. There's associate's level degree positions that are great. There's all the way up to, if you have a CPA and you're the CFO of the bank. The other banks require a lot of different types of people. So even though I'm talking to customers all day and putting loans together and I'm in the lobby constantly, there's people that I work with that maybe don't see a customer for weeks. They are maybe in the accounting department, HR, compliance. There's just all kinds of opportunities in banking, and I think that banking is another opportunity to work your way up because there's so many levels. So it's not like you're going to start at a bank and then stall out. There's always more you can learn and more you can do. So I think as a lifelong career, and like I said, almost everybody that's in our executive group started as a teller and worked their way up, and maybe they were getting more education on the way, maybe they weren't. And I think that banking provides that, and I also do think the hours, like I said, are really nice to have a family and be working at the same time.